The corner table near the window is still warm from the afternoon sun, and a basket of unfolded clothes rests on the chair beside it. Outside, people move past the cafe glass in quiet lines, their reflections sliding across the surface without stopping. The cold tile under your feet holds the day's remaining chill, steady and unhurried, while somewhere inside the phone, numbers keep climbing and falling where no one here can hear them. A sleeve slips through your fingers, cotton brushing your skin in a familiar way that does not ask anything back. The cup has gone empty, the air smells faintly of roasted beans, and the weight of the laundry settles into your lap like something patient enough to wait. The coffee shop hums softly as late afternoon drifts toward evening, and the stack of clothes waits in your lap like a small, unfinished conversation. Outside the glass, a bus sighs at the curb and pulls away, leaving behind a thin ripple of distant traffic that never fully disappears. The screen on your phone lights up again on the table, a brief glow that promises numbers, comments, small movements in a world measured by views, and then settles back into stillness. The cold floor tile presses up through your shoes, reminding you of where you are more than what is happening elsewhere. You smooth a shirt across your knees, finding the edges with your fingers the way you have done so many times before. Fabric slides against fabric. The rhythm is simple and steady, sleeves folded inward, hem lifted, one corner aligned with another while the cafe door opens and closes behind someone you do not turn to see. A notification appears and disappears without a sound you can hear, the quiet insistence of social media continuing in the background, like a current that runs even when you step aside. There are other people here with their own tables, their own small piles of tasks brought in from the day. A laptop clicks shut near the counter. Someone stirs ice in a glass. You pause with a pair of socks half folded, looking not at the screen but at the reflection of the window layered over it, your own outline faint against the evening light. The numbers may have shifted again, rising or falling in ways that once felt larger than this room, but the cotton in your hands keeps its shape, indifferent to applause or silence. Another shirt. The fabric is cool at first, then warmer as it rests between your palms, and the steady motion draws a line through the noise you cannot see. Outside, a child runs past the window, chased by a voice calling gently after them, and the sound fades into the same thin band of traffic that has been there all along. The phone remains face up, its dark surface holding a quiet reflection of the ceiling lights, ready to bloom with color at the slightest touch. You do not reach for it yet. Instead, you line up the edges of a towel, pressing down along the fold with the side of your hand. The table is solid beneath your wrists. The cafe air is neither warm nor cold, just enough. Somewhere in that small device, people are scrolling, reacting, leaving brief marks that will be replaced by other marks before the night is over. Here, the only mark is the faint crease you make in the cloth, a small order made in the middle of an ordinary hour. The stack grows lower. A few crumbs scatter near your elbow, and you brush them away without thinking. The light outside shifts almost imperceptibly, losing its brightness and turning softer, less defined around the edges of buildings. The thought of checking the numbers passes through like a draft under the door, noticeable but not urgent. Your fingers find another sleeve, another seam, and follow the same quiet pattern they have already learned. When the last piece in the basket waits in your hands, you take a slower breath than before. The phone screen flickers once more with an unseen change, its promise of movement continuing without your attention. The floor remains cool. The traffic remains distant. You fold the final item carefully, place it on top of the neat stack, and then lean back in your chair, shoulders resting against the wood as you let a long breath leave your chest. The basket is empty now, but the folded stack remains on the chair beside you, steady and unremarkable in the softening light. The cafe has grown quieter, as if the room itself is lowering its voice along with the day. A few tables away, someone scrolls through their phone with a practiced thumb, the screen flashing colors that never quite reach your side of the room. The cold tile beneath your feet feels more noticeable as the sun slips away, its steady coolness unchanged by whatever is happening online. You shift the stack of clothes closer, aligning the edges once more though they are already straight. Fabric brushes your fingertips again. The motion is small, almost unnecessary, but it carries the same quiet rhythm as before. On your phone, a new notification from social media lights the screen for a moment, a number in red that suggests movement, reaction, something that could be opened and examined. It fades back to black when left alone, like a door that closes if no one steps through. Through the window, evening traffic gathers in patient lines, headlights beginning to glow one by one. The sound of distant engines settles into a low, constant thread beneath the cafe's softer noises. You glance at the screen this time, not to tap it, only to see your reflection layered over the faint icons beneath the glass. The numbers are there, waiting. They always are. But the stack of folded shirts beside you holds a different kind of presence, one that does not change when you look away. A breeze slips in when the door opens, brushing the hem of the top shirt and lifting it slightly before letting it fall. You press it down gently, smoothing the surface with the flat of your hand. The floor remains cool. A barista wipes the counter in slow, practiced strokes. The world inside the phone continues to move in small surges and dips, but here, the only visible change is the gradual dimming of the sky outside the glass. You remember other afternoons when the basket was fuller, when there was less time to sit and more noise filling the room. Today feels stretched out, almost spacious, even with the quiet pulse of updates only a tap away. Your thumb hovers once over the edge of the phone, then retreats, resting instead on the fabric beneath your palm. The cotton is slightly textured, a seam running beneath your finger like a thin line on a map. Across the cafe, someone laughs softly, then lowers their voice again. A chair scrapes against tile. The coolness under your feet does not change, and the steady contact grounds you more than the flicker of any screen could. The stack of clothes leans gently against your hip, its weight light but real. The phone remains still, face up, holding its unread invitations without complaint. Another pause settles in. You slide the folded pile fully onto your lap, holding it there for a moment as if testing its balance. The outside light thins into a bluish tone, soft and less defined around the edges of buildings. Somewhere in that small digital space, reactions continue to collect or disappear, unseen and unmeasured by anyone in this room. You breathe in the scent of coffee and faint detergent lingering on the cloth, a quiet mix of ordinary things. Then, without ceremony, you rest the stack back on the chair and lean your shoulders into the backrest, letting the chair take your weight as your chest rises and falls in one slow, steady breath. By the time the sky turns fully blue, the cafe lights have taken over, casting a softer glow across the tables and the quiet stack of folded clothes beside you. The room feels less like a place of movement now and more like a small pocket set apart from the street. Outside the window, headlights stretch into thin lines as cars move slowly through the intersection, their distant sound blending into a steady background hum. The cold tile under your shoes remains unchanged, a quiet surface that holds your weight without shifting. You slide the phone a little farther from the edge of the table, not to check it, only to make space. Its dark screen catches the reflection of the overhead lights and your own outline leaning forward slightly. Social media continues somewhere behind that glass, numbers adjusting themselves in silence, stories stacking on top of other stories. None of it enters this corner unless you invite it. The folded clothes rest where you placed them, their edges still straight, their presence steady. The air in the cafe feels cooler now. You tuck your hands between your knees for a moment, letting the warmth gather there. A couple near the door speaks in low tones, their words blending into the thin ribbon of traffic outside. The screen lights up once more, a brief flicker that touches the underside of your chin before fading again. It is almost easy to forget how quickly those small changes used to pull at you, how often your attention leaned toward that glow before anything else in the room. Your gaze shifts instead to the window, where the reflection of the interior floats over the street beyond. Inside the glass, the stack of shirts appears doubled, layered over passing cars and blurred pedestrians. The two images overlap without interfering with each other. The numbers on your phone may be rising or dipping, small waves in a current that never fully stops, but the weight of cotton on wood remains exactly what it was a moment ago. A spoon clinks gently against ceramic at the counter. You reach out and adjust the top shirt again, smoothing a crease that has formed near the collar. The fabric gives easily beneath your hand, accepting the pressure without resistance. The coolness of the tile travels faintly up through your soles, grounding you in a way that no notification ever has. Somewhere in that digital space, someone scrolls past your name without pausing, or perhaps lingers for a second longer. Here, the only pause that matters is the one you are already in. The room seems to exhale. The barista dims one row of lights, and the shift is subtle but noticeable, like a quiet agreement that the day is winding down. Your phone remains untouched, its presence less insistent now that the sky has darkened and the window reflects more of the inside than the outside. You rest your forearms on the table, feeling the solid surface beneath them, the slight texture of wood against skin. The stack of clothes leans gently toward you, as if balanced by the simple act of sitting still. Traffic continues its low murmur. The tile stays cool. The screen stays dark. You let your shoulders ease back into the chair, chest lifting and lowering in an unhurried rhythm, and then you lean back a little farther, letting a slow breath slip out into the quiet of the room. The evening settles more fully now, and the cafe feels like a small island surrounded by the slow movement of traffic outside. The window has turned into a mirror, holding the reflection of tables, chairs, and the quiet stack of folded clothes beside you. The cold tile under your feet seems steadier at this hour, as if the day's warmth has completely drained away. Your phone lies on the table within reach, its dark surface reflecting a faint halo of light from above. Someone near the counter scrolls through their feed, the movement of their thumb quick and practiced. You catch the small flicker of their screen from the corner of your eye, a brief shimmer of color that disappears as soon as it appears. On your own device, a notification icon shifts quietly, unseen by anyone but the glass that covers it. Social media continues its soft, invisible counting, gathering reactions and letting others fall away, all without sound. You rest your palm lightly on the stack of clothes. The cotton holds a trace of detergent, clean and familiar, and the top shirt carries a faint crease where it has been folded twice. You press it down gently, smoothing the surface in a motion that feels slower than before. Outside, headlights pass in patient lines, their glow sliding across the window and briefly touching the edge of your reflection. The traffic remains distant, a low thread of sound that does not intrude. For a moment, you lift the phone and turn it face up more directly, letting the screen wake beneath your gaze. Numbers appear. A few more likes than earlier. A comment you have not read. The symbols are small and precise, arranged neatly in rows. They hold a certain brightness, a sense of movement that feels almost alive. You watch them without tapping further, as if observing fish moving behind glass. Then the screen dims again. You set the phone back down where it was, leaving the numbers to continue without you. The cafe door opens and closes, letting in a brief wash of cooler air that brushes your ankles through the fabric of your clothes. The tile remains cool, steady against the soles of your shoes. The folded stack beside you does not shift or change, its quiet presence unaffected by the rise or fall of digital attention. Across the room, someone gathers their things and leaves, chair legs scraping lightly across the floor before silence returns. The barista wipes down another table, slow circles of cloth against wood. Your shoulders ease forward for a moment, elbows resting near the edge of the table, and you notice how the air feels thicker now, as if holding the remnants of conversation and coffee. You look once more at the phone, not to check it but to notice its stillness. The screen is dark again, holding no visible sign of the activity beneath it. The world inside continues regardless of whether you lean toward it or not. The world here, in this corner by the window, continues as well, traffic murmuring, lights glowing, cotton resting quietly in a stack. You slide your hands back from the table and let them fall to your sides, the coolness of the tile grounding you once more. The folded clothes remain balanced on the chair. The phone remains silent. The cafe hum settles into something almost like a held breath, and you lean back slowly into the chair, letting your spine rest against the wood as a long, unhurried breath leaves you. The cafe is nearly empty now, chairs pushed closer to their tables, voices lowered into something softer than conversation. The stack of folded clothes rests quietly at your side, edges aligned, corners softened by the dim light above. The cold tile under your feet feels almost sharper in the thinning warmth of the room, its coolness steady and precise. Your phone remains on the table, screen dark, holding a quiet world of social media updates that continue without pause. A faint hum from the refrigerator behind the counter threads through the silence. Outside the window, traffic has thinned, headlights passing less frequently, each one leaving a brief streak across the glass before disappearing into the dark. You trace the outline of the top shirt with your eyes, noticing the small curve where the fabric bends over the stack beneath it. The numbers on your screen may have shifted again, rising in small increments or slipping back down, but from here they feel distant, like lights in another building. You slide the chair with the folded clothes a little closer to your own, the wood legs scraping softly against tile. The sound is brief and unremarkable. Your hand rests on the cotton once more, feeling the slight resistance of layered cloth beneath your palm. There is no urgency in the room now, no rush of orders or footsteps crossing the floor. Only the steady presence of objects and the faint rhythm of distant cars beyond the glass. The phone lights up unexpectedly. For a moment, the glow touches your fingers and the underside of your wrist. A new comment appears, a small line of text waiting to be opened. The brightness is gentle but persistent, an invitation shaped like a number. You watch it without moving, letting the light sit there, noticing how easily it draws the eye. The tile beneath your shoes remains cool, the stack of clothes unmoving, the hum behind the counter unchanged. You turn the phone slightly so the screen faces more toward the ceiling than toward you. The light still glows, but its pull weakens when it is no longer directly in front of your gaze. The reflection of the overhead lamps slides across the glass, soft and distorted. Outside, a single car passes slowly, its engine a low murmur that fades almost immediately. Your shoulders feel heavier now. Not from anything dramatic, only from the simple length of the day. The basket that once held the laundry sits empty on the floor near your feet, its woven sides slightly bent inward where fabric once pressed against them. The folded stack beside you carries a quiet completeness, a small task finished in the middle of an otherwise unmeasured evening. The numbers on the screen are still there, waiting patiently behind the thin layer of glass. You reach out and tap the edge of the device, not to open the notification, but to dim the screen before it fades on its own. The light softens and then disappears, leaving only your reflection and the ceiling lamps above. The room feels wider without that glow. The tile remains cool. The cotton remains smooth beneath your hand. For a while, you simply sit. Traffic continues in the distance, thinner now, almost intermittent. The barista moves quietly near the back, stacking cups with a careful rhythm. The folded clothes wait to be carried home, to be placed into drawers and closets where they will rest until needed again. The world inside the phone moves forward without you, its numbers adjusting in ways that will look slightly different tomorrow. You lean back slowly into the chair, letting the wood take your weight, and allow a long breath to move through you before it leaves, steady and unforced. When you finally step out of the cafe, the air feels cooler against your face, carrying the faint scent of pavement and night. The stack of folded clothes rests in your arms, balanced carefully against your chest. The cold tile is replaced by the firmness of the sidewalk, steady beneath each step. Your phone sits in your pocket now, quiet, holding its world of shifting numbers somewhere out of sight. Streetlights cast small pools of yellow along the road. Traffic is thinner at this hour, each passing car leaving a soft trail of sound that fades quickly into the dark. The weight of the clothes is light but present, cotton pressing gently against your forearms. Somewhere in that unseen digital space, notifications may still be appearing, comments stacking quietly on top of one another. Here, the only sound close to you is the rhythm of your own steps and the distant murmur of engines turning corners. You pause near the edge of the sidewalk, waiting for a break in the cars before crossing. The street glows faintly under the lights, its surface smooth and slightly reflective. A breeze brushes against the fabric in your arms, lifting the top shirt just enough to remind you of its softness. The phone remains still in your pocket, its screen dark, its numbers continuing their small adjustments without your attention. Across the street, a cafe light switches off. The window that once reflected tables and chairs is now dark, holding only the faint outline of the street beyond. You cross slowly, the coolness of the pavement steady through your shoes. The folded clothes shift slightly in your grip, and you tighten your arms just enough to keep them aligned. The night does not ask anything from you, it simply holds the space around your steps. At home, the hallway is dim when you open the door, a soft yellow light spilling from somewhere deeper inside. The quiet feels different here, thicker and more familiar. You set the stack of clothes on a nearby chair for a moment, listening to the faint hum of appliances in the background. The phone in your pocket remains untouched, its silent world still turning in the dark. You carry the clothes into the bedroom, where the light is low and gentle. The floor is cooler here than the cafe tile, the surface smooth beneath your bare feet once your shoes are set aside. You place the folded stack on the bed and sit down beside it, the mattress dipping slightly under your weight. Outside the window, a car passes once, its sound distant and brief. For a moment, the room is almost entirely still. You reach into your pocket and take out the phone, holding it loosely in your hand without waking the screen. Its surface is smooth and cool, reflecting a faint outline of the lamp in the corner. The numbers inside continue their quiet movement, unseen and unchanged by the way you sit here. The stack of clothes waits patiently beside you, ready to be placed into drawers one by one. You set the phone down on the bedside table without turning it on, letting it rest there face up in the dim light. Then you lift the first folded shirt and slide it gently into its drawer, the fabric settling into place with a soft whisper. One by one, the stack grows smaller, the room growing quieter with each motion. When the last item is put away, you sit back on the edge of the bed, shoulders easing downward as the night stretches quietly around you. You lean back slowly against the wall, letting your spine find support, and allow a long, steady breath to leave your chest into the stillness of the room. The room has settled into its own quiet shape, the drawers closed, the bedside lamp casting a small circle of light against the wall. Your phone rests on the table, screen dark, no numbers visible from where you sit. Outside the window, the last of the traffic has thinned to an occasional passing sound, brief and already fading before you fully notice it. The floor remains cool beneath your feet, steady and unchanged. You lean back a little more, feeling the wall firm behind your shoulders. There is nothing left to fold, nothing left to check in this moment. The stack of clothes has disappeared into its place, and the room carries a soft stillness that does not need to be measured. Somewhere beyond the glass and walls, social media continues its quiet counting, but here the only movement is the slow rise and fall of your breathing. The lamp hums faintly. You reach over and let your hand rest near the phone without turning it on, noticing its weight without lifting it. Then you lean back fully, allowing your chest to open and a final, unhurried breath to leave you, steady in the dim light.